Hey everyone, so before I start talking about this route that I take, or the method that I use for looting on interchange, I want to quickly talk about what prices look like for some of the stims that I typically use. 3B is a really good stim. It'll help you recover your stamina crazy fast. Right now they're going for about 43. These will dip later in the day. Prices, like all things with Tarkov, fluctuate pretty rapidly. Same thing for SJ. Right now they're about 43 as well, but I mean you can snag these for 35 on a good day. So let's just assume for both of these stims, let's just say it's 40. Nice middle of the average. And then there's also Meldonin, which is another stim that I like to use. Now this one's typically a little bit more expensive. It looks like we're catching it on one of the lower end prices. Typically this would go for about 50k right now. And all this is just to reiterate, I'm taking these drugs. Yes, they cost money, but in my opinion they make your looting so much more effective on interchange that it is worth oftentimes using 80k on stims. Especially when things like electronic motors, for example, are going for 60, sometimes even 80k, depending on how volatile the market is. Things like drills, electric drills. I can pull that up. Not the highest of prices right now, but still, you know, 32k. That's not too terribly bad. Bulbs aren't as crazy as they used to be before, but still worth picking up. You know, wires, which I usually don't even pick up, but I probably should because they're at 15k. Power cord, these are usually around 22. Power supply units. So just to give you an idea what the prices are for things at the time of me making this video. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the actual video. So at the start here, I'm going to be popping an SJ6 and a 3B. You can also take Meldonin if you prefer, depending on the price. The main difference between Meldonin and 3B, in my opinion, is the stamina recovery rate. I personally like 3B's. It has a 0.5% stamina recovery boost over the Meldonin, which may not sound like a whole lot, but to me it feels like my stamina comes back considerably faster than with the Meldonin. The nice thing about Meldonin is it does last for 15 minutes, so you do get a longer benefit from Meldonin. So kind of just up to personal preference. The spawn that I got over at Emercom, this is personally, I think, one of the best spawns for my route. The only real spawn that you have to contend with is the one up the ramp that I just ran up to. And a lot of the times, people don't even spawn there, so you're usually uncontested, just running straight into the back of Ollie. As you can see, starting all the way back out at Emercom, I'm, you know, barely at a fourth of my stam now, so the majority of the people who spawned out front of Ollie on either the highway or over at Object 21, they're probably just now getting into the parking garage and not even coming up the stairs. I did hear some metal off to my right, but I have a feeling that was a scav on the other escalator. I did want to check just to be sure. I'm going to poke my head into this furniture store right here. There's good tech loot at that spawn where that drill was. Now, because power is on, this is going to influence my decision whether I want to go into Raz or Techno first. In the majority of my runs, I always go Techno first, Raz second, for the main reason being, by going into Raz, and speed is the key with this run, that's why we're taking the drugs, is you want to be gone before any of the other players have a chance to catch you. So, by going into Raz, you're just delaying your ability to get up into Tech White. So I opted to just kind of listen down into Ollie, see if I heard any scabs shooting at anything, if I heard suppressed shots, whatever. I also have an ultra med key, so that kind of also influences my decision to come up here because I wanted to check for the Ledex spawn. decent tech loot up here in Tech Light. The electric motor alone, like I said earlier, basically pays off the stims that I took, and the Tetris definitely does. For those of you wondering if Ultraman is worth buying, don't. It is usually like this. The loot in here is just not worth the price tag of the key. I think when I bought it, it was like $1 mil. It's like on a good day, I would say maybe $250,000, and you'll get about that amount out of that key from the meds that you'll pull out reliably anyway. So I did hear some shooting down in Ollie, so I felt fairly confident that I could move into Raz and only deal with a group that might have came up from the floor in front of me. So ran into Raz. I also have Kiba keys, so if there's no one down the hall towards Kiba, I will hopefully be able to knock Kiba out, but spoiler, there's a group down here. We're getting to the point where a lot of the people who obviously aren't taking all the drugs that I'm taking are getting into the mall. I can see a guy up here run into Mantis, and I decide, yeah, I don't want to get locked inside of Kiba, so I'm just going to go out. I have Object 21 key card as well, so I'll just go out there, open that. So at this point, you probably could have left after you hit Raz, which in total runtime would be about 3.5 minutes in the mall. Everything that I'm doing from here is now optional, and you don't have to do. So 3.5 minutes to get all the tech stores looted, you have your stims paid off, you have some really good value hideout items. I heard something going down the escalators. I'm guessing it was the escalators outside of that furniture store and not the one that I just ran by because I did not see anyone. Yeah, I mean, the value of being able to beat everyone to these high demand areas is just so beneficial that the 80k in rubles that you're going to pay for these stims makes up for it tenfold, in my opinion. I'm going to run out to Object 21 and check that, and then we'll also make our way to Railway, which will be our exfil. There will be some times where you just have to PvP. By the way, I'm wiggling my mouse back and forth so that I don't have to jump over that barricade. It'll save you some stamina. You can do that on most of the small barricades, but not the tall ones, which there are only a handful on this map that you have to worry about. And as you can see, like I'm wearing Class 6, but it's pretty beat up. Like the durability on this thing is below half. So if you lose it, I don't really care about it. And the main reason that I prefer to play Interchange this way is Interchange used to be one of my favorite maps, but now it's just so infested with player scavs within the first 5 minutes, which makes it really hard for you to want to stay longer than, 5-10 minutes. And also just people hiding in really dark corners. And I have, I think, decent post effects on to help with lighting and everything, and even I have a hard time seeing people sometimes in some of those dark corners. But the fact we got a Bitcoin in 21 is pretty nice. 21's a really useful key just because a lot of the time everyone's inside of the mall and you usually won't get jumped. I have been jumped. I recently put up a video of people throwing grenades at me while I was up in here. That SA rail that I just pulled out is like 40k on the flea, so that's not too bad either. There's decent weapon attachments up in here. If I really wanted to, I could just pick up absolutely everything in here just for the slots, but I'm going to speed things up just a little bit here. At this point, I'm basically just going to run through Scav Camp. I'll check some Jaeger caches on the way out. Up here, I do run into a PMC, which kind of just popped up out of nowhere, and this poor guy gets turned on right here. You can hear him. I was just looking over there, and then boop, right in his noggin. That Hunter Vepper had M80 in it, so that's kind of scary. He could have done some damage with that thing. But at this point, I'm basically just making my way out. I'm going to check Jaeger caches on my way out, just because, one, you never know what you're going to pull out of them, and two, if I find a tactical rig, preferably, I would swap it out for my armor, because my armor's basically toast, but unfortunately I would need a rig to go along with that. I know that there's a cache along this area, like where I'm walking right now, and I spent a couple minutes looking for it. Well, not a couple minutes, but I didn't want to linger there too long, so I missed that cache, and I'm sure someone's probably screaming at me that I missed that cache, but yeah, just hitting the last few caches on the way out here, just because, like I said, you never know what you're going to pull out. You can always, dump some of the less valuable stuff for even better loot. But yeah, that's basically my run, in and out in about 14 minutes in total, if I remember correctly. This is why I pop drugs every single time I go into interchange. If you guys want, I can make a guide for less desirable spawns, but I thought this was a good way to demo. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.